Congressman, I don't know if you
Yeah.
can hear me.
I can.
It's Ron from Channel 2.
Ron, how are you?
Good. Okay. I just wanted to ask. I know this is kind of out of left field, so I apologize, but I did send something to Grace about this. The Buffalo News came out with a story today. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. Dan Herbeck interviewed Thomas Homan, who is the Trump administration's border czar. Uh, and the whole question of the green light law came up, which I know you've been concerned about in the past as well. But anyway, Mr. Holman, when he talked to Dan Herbeck, said they asked if it's possible that federal officials would block cars and trucks with New York license plates from entering the U.S. from Canada until New York begins sharing DMV information. And according to Mr. Herbeck, this was a well-connected law enforcement official telling a reporter such a scenario is under serious consideration by Homeland Security. He says Holman did not rule out the possibility, declining to confirm or deny that report. So I know I'm hitting you from left field here,
Sure.
but when you hear things like that, obviously you have a lot of border residents here. What's your response?
Well, I think it just brings light to the gravity of the situation. And I hope you all report on this because while I don't know if Mr. Holman said that or did not say that, I have not discussed that with him. But the northern border is something that you've all heard me talk about time and again about how this is the next front in this border war. We've seen 1,000+% increase in illegal crossings and apprehensions at the northern border. And New York State, because they insisted on a driver's license for a legal immigrant program and made that law in New York, and this needs a lot of attention. They have prevented federal law enforcement partners from accessing the New York State DMV database. And last summer, if you remember, Ron, the Buffalo ICE office apprehended a heinous killer from Peru. He got him just on the other side of my district, just outside of my district in Endicott, in Broome County. And this was a long-standing manhunt because this was someone that was such a heinous killer that he had killed 23 people. He was wanted for 23 murders in Peru, had his victims' names tattooed on his body, driving around in a car with New York plates. The Buffalo ICE officials that I've spoken with said that that investigation was deeply hampered because New York would not cooperate. I can't imagine most other states refusing to cooperate with federal officials when they're trying to do something to make all of our citizens safer and get a cold-blooded killer off the streets. So while that proposal, that quote seems to be an extreme measure, I don't know what it has got to be to make Kathy Hochul and the officials in Albany to wake up that we've got a real crisis on our hands. And they need to work with our federal law enforcement partners as we're trying to find the criminal element right off the bat within the population that is here illegally and set the table to get them out of this country. There needs to be broad-based cooperation. I have signed on to legislation in the last Congress, and I'm sure it'll be reintroduced very soon with Congresswoman Tenney to deny federal funds to states that do not cooperate with this sort of data sharing. I mean, this should be a hand-in-glove relationship. It should not be an adversarial relationship. And I have to ask out loud the question of state officials, whose side are you on if you're not working with our federal law enforcement partners to try to make our community safer? So I hope that it doesn't get to this. I hope we have more of a broad-based cooperation. But, the laws of New York, I don't know what constituency they think they're serving, but they are making New Yorkers less safe by not cooperating with our federal law enforcement officials. That has to happen. We cannot secure the northern border. We cannot continue to put pressure on the Canadian government to tighten their own immigration dilemmas if New York will not cooperate with the federal government of the United States of America. This is about keeping our community safe. And in a border community like Western New York is, where we have, 4 bridge crossings, this should be top of mind to people. in Western New York in the southern tier. And I will continue to use any leverage I have in conversations to try to continue to push for that, because this is it's an abomination that we have people that are putting their lives on the line to keep the streets safer, and they don't have the tools to know what car they're approaching because they can't run the tag. It's absurd.
But just to follow up real quick, just could New York State residents be caught in the middle here? That's the
Well, New York State residents need to call their governor. They need to talk to their state legislative partners, because what we're talking about in terms of getting the criminal element of the illegal immigration population out of this country is common sense. And if New York's going to stand in the way of common sense, that's a serious problem. The governor's from Buffalo. She understands, because of the proximity to the borders, as to what sort of dangerous free flow can be coming through. I mean, we have to have data cooperation between our law enforcement partners. I think that this comment, and I have not read the story by the Buffalo News, but it seems to be an extreme measure. Obviously, you know, the rights of U.S. citizens are tantamount. I think that we need to always be working to make sure that we have as much free flow at that border as possible. And I'm a huge proponent of this binational economy that we have, but we have to have safeguards and we have to protect our communities. And if we can't run the DMV database for U.S. Border Patrol, you're putting those officers' lives in danger, and you're putting your communities in danger. So while I can't speak to the comments, I haven't had those those conversations with Tom Homan or anyone in the incoming administration. There is going to be pressure on the state of New York to get with the program and understand what's on the line here.